Oh, and there we are. So I'm just waiting for us to go live, and then we can start.
Cool.
Hey, we're live. Hey, Chris, how are you today? You're from all the way from US, right?
Yeah,
And
I'm located in the United States, North Carolina.
wow, it's been quite a while that I've been trying to speak to you, especially about what's happening back in USA, and how is Coinbase treating everyone. And of course, you were also very curious as to what exactly is happening in India, the recent the recent scenario. So I hope it's gonna be a wonderful session with you. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Just want to check who all are live, if anyone has joined us. All
I'm
right.
sharing a link to Facebook now. So,
Sure, sure. And so, in the meantime, Chris, would you like to just talk about self? How did you get introduced to cryptocurrencies? And what is it that fascinated you so much? Yeah.
yeah, man. So basically, I got in. I've been studying blockchain and Bitcoin for a couple of years. I'm a full-time student going to college for business administration, and I was going to pick some topics for a paper and a presentation I had to do.
Uh,
Unfortunately, it was a time limit presentation, so I chose not to do Bitcoin or blockchain because I didn't think I could explain it in such a short amount of time.
uh-huh.
But I've been following it and been looking into it. And when I first saw it, I mean, I was very skeptical about what it was. But the more I saw it, the more I looked into it, the more I actually realized the validity and the technology, how it's going to be a game changer, disrupting a lot of different industries and changing things. And I think getting things more to an even playing field with decentralization. So that really attracted to me. And I was having some problems with my bank, and it really aggravated me. And at the time, Bitcoin was, this is like April of last year, so almost a year ago, was somewhere around like 1,200 bucks. And right around the end of May, I decided to go ahead and buy in. And originally, I mean, my intentions were to get rich. You know, I was very greedy in my original intentions of wanting to get involved in Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. But once I got involved, I started learning and seeing what it was all about. Sorry. And and basically what it did for me was like opened up a doorway for me to go through and see a whole new existence. It started showing me, I started learning about how fiat money works, and I started learning more about economics. I started looking into different ideas about how inflation works, and started studying fractional reserve banking. Started looking at different crashes that we've had. Started looking into precious metals, and it just led me down a crazy rabbit hole. And ultimately, I see Bitcoin and the technologies behind the blockchain and cryptocurrencies as being able to lead us into a better future. And so I've kind of joined this revolution to wake people up, to help educate people, get them started, kind of offer tech support. I don't offer financial advice. I do tell people what I'm doing to give people examples, but I always encourage people to educate, because education is super important, and especially in cryptocurrencies or any kind of investment you're going to do. Make sure you're going into this with the right intentions. And and basically for me, I really want to leave a positive impact on this world. And I feel like we're going to have a fight of decentralization versus centralization coming up. And I really want to be a part of that fight to be able to let people know the importance of decentralization. Because, like weapons, guns, um, these are all tools, currencies, monies. There's tools. It's how you use them that is important. And we, the people, all around the world globally, need to come together and make sure that we're using these tools for the right purposes, and that we're not allowing the old systems to corrupt these tools and to use them to continue down the same paths that we've been going down. Does that make any sense?
That's what I like about you, because I've been reading a lot of your posts on Facebook, and of course you also had recently spoken to Bitcoin Ben, the
Yeah,
truck
yeah.
driver. I saw that interview. That was amazing. So what's common among all the crypto enthusiasts is that, of course, we all get started with intention of making a little bit of money, but down the line somewhere we get more inspired and motivated by the bigger picture.
Right.
So and that's the real thing, because I would do you know Anastasia by any chance? I had her on the channel a couple of week back, and we had the similar conversation.
Anastasia, Lady Anarchy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. She's a good friend of mine. She's a good
yeah.
friend of mine. He just recently took a job with Nexus
Nexus, yeah, yeah, yeah.
in NXS. That's a coin that I'm definitely very, very bullish on. I believe in their technologies, the quantum computing that they're going to be trying to fight. They're coming up with the concept of a 3D blockchain that would be quantum resistant, and they're even working with some AI. So yeah, Lady Anarchy Anastasia, she's really good people, man. She shares a lot of the same views that I share politically. I view myself as a libertarian, which is not Republican or Democrat. In case people in India are unfamiliar, libertarian is kind of more that middle ground. But I'm also a voluntarist, and you can look up voluntarism. It's a principle of nonviolence, and basically just us coexisting under natural law, which are moral laws. Most people know what moral laws are: universal law, natural law, and also in addition, we're both anarchists. And if you're in India, and I don't know how the media or how people look at that word in India, but it's not a negative word. Anarchy means to be without rulership, to be without authority, to be basically not to be controlled, not to be a slave. And if you really look at the systems that we're all in, we're all slaves to these systems that have been built. And that, when I apologize for not being available as much when we were trying to connect. I know we're like in completely different time zones. So there's like a 9.5 hour difference. You guys are in the evening time right there. I guess it would be like 10 o'clock
Yeah,
your
it's
time.
10 o'clock exactly.
And it's 12:38 noon p.m. my time. So I got up just like 2.5 hours ago. So it's just been a matter of us trying to connect up. But it's really important to me because I think that we need to, not only YouTubers and influencers, but everybody who's involved in cryptocurrencies need to come together and unite. Because this is made for us, the people, not for them, the controlling systems. And when I studied economics, one of the things that I had looked into regarding India, and one of the things that I was wanting to speak with you about was the idea of what happened with some of your guys' currencies and what happened with some of your money that you had in circulation. I don't know if it was like a year and a half, 2 years ago,
2 years
but
ago.
I see what's happening in like Zimbabwe, and I see what's happening in Venezuela. And what's happening in Venezuela right now is a tragedy. They've experienced hyperinflation to the point that the country is like 85 to 90% in poverty. And, so we need to break out of these systems and get rid of these central banks and get rid of this fiat money. And, I mean,
So yeah, I'm gonna talk about I'm gonna talk to you about. Of course, you can ask me questions on what's happening in India. I'll be more than happy to share with you, and because I'm very impressed with the kind of regulators from USA. They're already talking about ICOs, so they aren't talking about the Bitcoin. They aren't saying that Bitcoin is a scam or Bitcoin is a Ponzi scheme. So US regulators, what I like about them is that they already know the technology. They understood the power of it. So now they have gone a step further. So they want to look into ICOs, which is, yes, I would agree, kind of a scammy space as well. There are some scammy ICOs as well, right? So which needs to be regulated. But then that's the difference between the US regulators and Indian regulators. Now, Indian regulators are still trying to figure out the Bitcoin first. Okay, so that's the, but anyway, it's lovely to have you. Let me just say hi. So we have like 30, how many people we have? Okay, we have like 25-30 people watching us. So we have hey Gaurav, what's up? Hey Samdi, Bivas, Ajay, hey Bivas, thanks for joining everyone. Nitesh.
Much love to you all, man. I appreciate you guys joining us and watching.
Yeah, Deepak.
I hope that you learned something about like what's going on here in the United States.
Yeah. So Ajay, Samdi, Rahul, Robert, consulting firm, Bitcoin world. Great. Rice Crypto. What's up? Awesome. Yeah, so let's come back to the topic. Right, so what's happening, Chris? Now you already know about the Indian scenario. How are the things in USA? What about the excitement? How many people are investing? Is everyone talking about Bitcoin, or do you still find people who don't know about Bitcoin as yet?
It's actually a little bit of all the above. What I'll say is, like, since the beginning of the year, with the prices going down and the media, mainstream media has been reporting all kinds of not so positive things regarding Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. And it seems like they've been strategically releasing this information to kind of keep the prices down and to keep the interest down. So there still is a percentage of people that really have lost interest or don't know much about Bitcoin. And that's where people like me, Bitcoin Ben, yourself, and other YouTubers come in to educate those people. But overall, what's happening is, you mentioned regulation in U.S. law and things like that. So the SEC and the CFTC are the two governing bodies that are going to deal with the exchanges and cryptocurrencies. And then you got the IRS that wants to tax people on it. So I'm going to take the IRS out of the equation and talk about the SEC and the CFTC. Now, for the most part, both agencies are very pro-cryptocurrencies. They look at this more as being something positive for generations to come, not just for the people that are existing right now, the people beyond us, the people who are going to be able to benefit this more from the future. We're going to be the starters. People are going to they're going to grow up in a world where there's no paper money. It's just going to be an antique to them. Everything's going to be digital. So basically, with that being said, they know they need to do things to regard regulation. So the idea is that they're creating regulations which are in place. They've got committees, and they're working on what is going to work and what isn't going to work. And they want to regulate, but they don't want to stifle the innovation. The ICO market is definitely something that's very important because, yeah, like you said, there are some bad eggs in those baskets. But that's where you need to educate yourself. You know, you need to go on to their white papers. You need to go on GitHub, which is open source information, look at their coding, see who's involved technologically, see what the project's about, see if they're actually doing anything to do this. I mean, because some of these projects have, and I'll give Tron as an example. I'm not saying Tron is a scam, but they have a 10-year plan. So they're not necessarily planning on impacting the cryptocurrency space tomorrow. And so this year, with the coins that came out last year in ICOs, you're going to see these coins that aren't producing their technologies are just going to fall by the wayside. And it's really going to become, because you've got a lot of big institutional money coming into the space. And when I say big institutional money, this is names that people in India should recognize, like George Soros, the Rockefellers. This is big money. Me and you discussed before we started, Goldman Sachs-backed company Circle bought Poloniex. We're going to see more financial institutions getting involved in buying these exchanges. That's the big money coming in. So the regulation is important, and basically with the ICOs is where the majority of the stuff is going to come into play. There's going to be like some stringent restrictions as a process of what you can do to make sure that your ICO is approved for U.S. members. Otherwise, you see ICOs being offered in other parts of the world, and you see that currently happening. But the majority of the ICOs that are happening now, U.S. citizens cannot and are not allowed to participate based off our regulations not being in place. So these companies are basically saying we don't want to mess with you. Even EOS, I think there was an issue with people buying directly into the ICO. You could purchase EOS from the United States through an exchange by trading, but you weren't able to participate directly in the ICO, from what I understand, because of the regulation issue.
Are people using Tor network to participate into these ICOs?
Are they using what network?
Tor, a VPN, a private VPN or something like that. I heard people are using that.
You can, but see, something that they do here in the United States is something called KYC, which is Know Your Customer. So they want to actually get copies of your identification, your card, your passport. They want even a copy of a utility bill or some mail verifying your address. So they want to know who you are. You can't really. That's where I talk about in the near future, you seeing this war of decentralization versus centralization. Because if I do an exchange on a decentralized exchange, it's not going to be underneath the guidelines of regulation, because it's a decentralized exchange. It's not a sole entity. It doesn't have a controlling entity. But overall, I think the vibe of cryptocurrency is very positive in the United States, and we've got a lot of news coming out. There's so much news; it's kind of hard to keep up with, like, what specifically is happening. I know the Winklevoss brothers, who own Gemini, just received a patent. I saw that in the news today. Received a patent for a security payment system. I think they're going to be also adding some other cryptocurrencies to their exchange. Coinbase, as we talked about, they have a professional exchange side, which is GDAX. And you'll also got Bittrex, which is here in the United States, and Poloniex, as I mentioned, that was recently acquired by Circle Investing. Robinhood is another trading exchange company, and they were primarily doing stocks and things like that in the past, but they've opened up the gateway for cryptocurrencies, and they're kind of limited as to what states they started out with, but they started this year. And so there's more avenues that are opening up, not only for U.S. citizens, but for other people in the world to be able to get into cryptocurrency.
So as I understand, you're talking about the traditional investor like George Soros, and then you had the one more recently one. What's his name? Rockefellers. And of course, you spoke about the Winklevoss brothers, who is actually got a patent. So a lot of traditional investors. But do you think you heard about the recent cartel movement, price suppression?
Yeah, but I mean,
that's true.
I don't know, man. It's speculation. It's people want to speculate. But if you really think about this logically, nobody really benefits from keeping the price down except for the central banks and the financial institutions. So if that's the cartel, then yeah, they're. I mean, when you have an animal that's dying or is being attacked and know it's going to be killed, it fights back, and that's what's happening now. These financial institutions are fighting back. But what's kind of funny and ironic is, like, companies like JP Morgan and their CEO, Jamie Dimon, I call him Jamie Dimon, but Jamie Dimon came out late last summer, beginning fall, around the time the China FUD came out, and was saying Bitcoin was a Ponzi scheme and a fraud, and people don't need to invest in it, which caused a dip even further in the price. Well, it just so happened that a bank that's owned by JP Morgan just a couple days later bought on the dip. JP Morgan right now is being sued for overcharging their customers regarding cryptocurrency purchases. If people don't know very much about JP Morgan is one of the financial institutions that was responsible for our 2008 financial crisis that took place in the United States with the housing market. And what people may not know in India is that housing market crash was saved by the United States, by the Federal Reserve, and had that not been done, our economy would have crashed completely. And what people don't take into account, or maybe they do take into account, is that if the U.S. economy crashes, everything else crashes with it, because unfortunately, Everybody's chosen to have the U.S. dollar as the world reserve currency. That stuff's going to change, man.
Very true. What kind of news do you hear for India? What kind of news did you hear recently?
Okay, well, that was another reason I reached out to you, because I had saw something about India, the government's wanting to ban cryptocurrency, that they were banning exchanges, and that's part of the FUD, the fear, the uncertainty, and doubt that I'm talking about the mainstream media trying to report. They're not exactly reporting the truth. They take a variation of the truth and report what they want you to hear. You know, and that's where I tell people to question everything, unlearn what you've been taught, empty your cup, basically, because you need to wake up to what's going on around you. There's so much more truth than what's being reported to you. Because, yeah, I thought that India was like, we are a no-go for cryptocurrency, which I was thinking in my mind, this makes no sense, because I would think the people of India would fight against this, knowing what happened to them economically. I can't say for a fact, but my thought was that the people of India look at Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies as kind of being a saving grace. And I don't know, am I wrong with that, or is that do people of India look at Bitcoin as helping them to get away from paper fiat money?
True, very true. Because this is something that happened. So let me tell you something about this, right? So people in India are they love cryptocurrency for the fact that yeah, I mean we spoke about the demonetization, the one thing that you remember 2 years back, right? All the old notes were demonetized, and that was a very scary moment. I mean, all of a sudden your fiat money is of no value. So people in India, they love cryptocurrencies. They understand the blockchain technology here as well. So here's the real news. Like you rightly said, that media always reports something which is not true. So it's the same thing that they have reported once again. So coming back to India, there's cryptocurrency. It's not like a China ban. Okay. It's not like the government said, okay, the cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin is banned in India. No, that's not true. It's not banned at all. Okay, the only difference is that only the bank, right? So the Reserve Bank of India said that we are not going to support any Bitcoin exchange for customers to buy. So that means there is no gateway for fiat to crypto to fiat. But of course, crypto to crypto, there's absolutely no issue. So that's the reality. But of course, it has impacted the market, because crypto exchanges do play a very, very important role. Like for example, how Coinbase is there in US, right? If Coinbase shuts down tomorrow, or maybe if Coinbase says that okay, we are not allowed to deal with any bank account, then all of a sudden nobody can actually buy Bitcoin, and that's a huge impact on the price, you know. And but of course, I also believe that if that happens, you're actually creating more avenues for the black money to flow into crypto, because then people start dealing in cash. Because you can't stop Bitcoin, right?
No, you can't. I mean, and now we're going to ask, like, do they have does anybody have Bitcoin ATM machines there where you can take your fiat money and get Bitcoin?
Not yet. Not yet.
Well, somebody in India, I mean, I know that there's wealthy people all throughout India. Somebody needs to get smart and install some ATM machines and get some access, or somebody needs to buy up a bunch of Bitcoin and start selling them. Because I've even heard in Australia that they're going to be selling Bitcoin at newsstands. So newsstands aren't as popular here in the United States. In some metropolitan cities like New York City and things like that, they're kind of popular. They're very popular in Australia. So it's giving another avenue for people to be able to purchase. But it sounds like to me that the Indian government and that the central banks of India are scared of the impact of what cryptocurrency is going to do.
Certainly they are. Certainly they are. They are scared. That's the first. And I think even US banks are scared. I mean, JP Morgan is also scared. You already heard Jamie Dimon calling it a fraud, and he also went on to say the people who are investing into crypto are stupid.
Credit companies, credit card companies, they're
Credit card
equally.
yeah. But I think the biggest issue here is that I think the regulators over here have not understood it as yet. So they actually, I think they need to educate more on the technology part of it and really see what other countries are doing, because if I'm right, most of the countries do follow US regulations. I think India follows US regulations. Most of the regulations are democratic country, and most there are a lot of similarity between US laws and Indian laws.
Right.
So I'm just hoping that India will. So okay, I have a chat from Bivas. He says, especially with the complexity of getting into cryptocurrency and education system, the Indians being traditionalists, the adoption is in a small segment. This is what I personally think. Yeah, very true. Bitcoin ATM cannot happen as it is not a legal tender. Yeah. So this was another thing, right, Chris? So recently the announcement was that the Bitcoin is not a legal tender. So it's not a legal tender because it cannot be a legal tender, right? You can't treat it like a currency as yet because it's very volatile. So what about in USA? People actually buy things from using cryptocurrency, using Bitcoin.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it does happen, but it's what it is. It's individuals like who are private owners, like who own stores that might determine that they want to accept it. There's some internet companies like cheapair.com and other companies that are accepting it. But I mean, I do understand about the volatility part of it, about as far as that's concerned. That's why they're coming up with like solutions like the Lightning Network and other different payment, like how the Winklevoss brothers got this patent for this new payment system. These are the things that are going to be able to open up the avenues for more of the mainstream and the big businesses. I mean, the idea that I understand with the Lightning Network, which sounds absolutely genius to me, is it's almost like a plug and play. If you decide to participate into it, let's say Walmart does, they could start have their own master node and be a part of the Lightning Network, and it would give them what it would do to their system, their POS system, their point of sale system, which is how they register things when you purchase. It's got a barcode and you scan it and it gets put in your computer system what to charge you and all that stuff. And all that would be interconnected, and it would change the financial systems to add in the cryptocurrency. So someone wouldn't have to get new technology. It's almost as if the code just kind of infiltrates itself in. So it's going to make the avenues very easy. And the other good thing is, too, when you talk about regulation and India and other countries following the United States, there was just a couple weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago, the G20 conference that took place, which is the 20 biggest countries that they get together on a yearly basis, and they talk about things on a financial level and all kinds of different other things, but the majority of it's finances and economics. Well, they have come out and said that they want all the countries to get involved and to regulate, and basically it's the same kind of outlook that I was saying about the United States. They want regulation, but they don't want to stifle the innovation. They want to make sure they can weed out and make it harder for the general person to create an ICO. Like I had a friend of mine today. This is actually kind of silly, but this morning I had this guy contact me. He's like, dude, I really want you to help me. And I'm like, what do you mean? So he messages me, and he wants to start his own ICO. And he has no clue about cryptocurrency. All he wants to do is basically get people to give him money so he can start some sort of television show he wants to produce as a film producer. So I'm like, what you're essentially talking about is securities and getting people to invest in your company. You have no technology. You have no know-how. Yeah, you can create your own cryptocurrency. You go on Ivan on Tech's YouTube.
Yeah.
Anybody can do it. That's why you need to educate yourself, because most things that sound too good to be true, most of the time are too good to be true. It's just people get blinded by greed. It's sad.
You recently met Bitcoin Ben. He is
Yeah.
a very exciting guy. So I know him for about a year now, and when he started doing his live on Facebook, I think he just started about 10, 15 people. But one thing that I did know that he is very excited. He is very excited. He talks with a lot of energy, and so I knew that he is different. But recently I got connected with him, and then I saw, oh my God. And there was some news about Litecoin with Bitcoin Ben. Some Litecoin approached him about some marketing or something like that. There was another video which went viral on YouTube, and everyone was watching. And then now he's a Bitcoin Ben. You just spoke to him. You had a conversation. How is he? How was the experience about him?
Okay, well, see, okay, to kind of rewind, when I got involved in cryptocurrency, I started checking out other people who were doing videos on Facebook, who were doing YouTube videos, and started following and learning from people, and started um, finding people who I was attracted to as far as what they were saying and how they were saying it. He was one of the people I was attracted to. And I had planned on starting a YouTube page, but I wanted to be more educated in some avenues. So I just didn't want to start the page and kind of learn as I go. So I procrastinated with starting my own YouTube page. So I want to go ahead and plug that. I got a YouTube page, Rice Crypto. You can check that out. And that's what ultimately led me to Bitcoin Ben. After watching certain people like Bitcoin Ben, Tiho with the Arcane Bear, Crypto Bud, Bix Weir. There's a guy that I do videos with, the Modern Guru. There's Crypto, Omar Bam, Ken Bozak. There's even other people that I follow, like on the financial end, like Lynette Zhang, who I interviewed, Adam Kokesh, who's running as the Libertarian candidate for presidency in 2020, who I interviewed as well on my YouTube channel. So, the internet has opened up the world. 15 years ago, we wouldn't be having this conversation. Now we can reach out to people. So if there's somebody who I like and who I enjoy and I'm learning from, and I feel a need to reach out to those people and connect with them, I will do so. And I've been talking to Bitcoin Ben for several months, and he had an issue on Facebook where he was, it looked like he was going to get banned or they were going to delete his account. They were preventing him from making any more posts and videos and anything like that. He could go on to Facebook, but he couldn't do anything. And it was because of some information that he was giving out and kind of stirring up, talking about a campaign that he wanted to start against George Soros. So I got in touch with him and told him, if you want to use my Facebook, we could do a live together, and he could use my channel to still do his voice. And then I was like, let's do an interview. Let's talk about this together. Let's create some dialogue. And because also something that I'm trying to do, as well as he and other influencers and YouTubers, are trying to come together more as a community, so that as a viewer of the kind of people that you're going to want to learn from. Because not everybody on YouTube or these different social media platforms have the best intentions when it comes to other people. Like, if people want to donate and help out what I do with Digital Wealth Network and Rice Crypto YouTube channel, that's great. But I'm not doing this for any sort of financial gain. If anything, I'm losing money and time that's valuable to me. But it's important, I think, to have good voices out there. And by having a community, you know what kind of people you can reach out and listen to. And that's why I mentioned some of the names, like Ken Bozak. When I first started my YouTube channel, he had invited me to do an interview with him because he knew what I was doing. I started my channel, and within a couple of weeks, I, and another fellow YouTuber, Mark Ross, who goes by Crypto Mac, we decided to do a weekly recap show. We're not as consistent with it because depending on everybody's schedules, but generally we try to every week get together. Thursday or Friday, we do a live broadcast on Bozak's channel. talking about a recap of the cryptocurrency news. So, you're going to see a lot more of this. Ken Bozak and Crypto have been interviewing each other. Bix Weir and Bitcoin Ben are going to do some content together. Ken Bozak and Bitcoin Ben's going to do some content together. So it's, we're all trying to connect with one another and be able to build that community, because it's very, very important. Community is super important. And people are going to realize that when the global financial collapse comes, when you see what happened in India get worse, everything's going to get back down to a local level. You're going to have to depend on your neighbors, your friends, your family that are close to you. So that's kind of what we're trying to do on a big level, is trying to be the family that can look out for the people in this community.
You're right, Chris, because this is how this channel started, where I had no one to speak to about Bitcoin. And whom do I speak to? So I said, I need to find people whom I can speak about cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin. And that's when the channel started. So you're right, most of the people around you are actually closed-minded and they won't listen to you. But there is an advantage as well, because then you get connected with some people where it's borderless. So boundaries do not matter, right? You can get connected with anyone you find best, like-minded, learn, share, and it's a kind of philosophy, I would say. Blockchain is brought in more than, as much as it's a technology, it's also a philosophy. And most people don't get this philosophy. It's too early. So that's and Bitcoin itself is a philosophy. Now all of a sudden the money is distributed. So
well, the cool thing about the blockchain that I like to compare it to is a glass house. Because you see straight through it. You can see everything about it all the way through. But now, something I do want to say about blockchains is, just like I was mentioning about tools being used for good and bad, that can happen with blockchain as well. So that's where people need to educate and stay on top of what's going on. And also, when I talk about centralization and decentralization, you're going to see centralized blockchains, which are the same idea as blockchain technology, but not open to you. It's like a glass house, but it's got a shell around it.
Did you see what happened with Facebook?
With the privacy issues?
No, the senators and the Mark Zuckerberg.
Well, I know Mark Zuckerberg, he had to testify before Congress, but the crazy thing with that, people are making a big deal about this, and I mean, Facebook is a free service. What do you think they're doing? So they're monetizing your information. So I mean, why are people getting pissed off with this? People, the idea. But at the same time, what I was getting at with that is, while everybody's worried about the United States, Facebook, and Congress, and all that, we're looking at a possibility of World War III in Syria. It's not being reported in the news here in the United States.
True.
As far as I've heard, in some countries they've got alerts going on in Europe, and it's scary. Russia. I mean, Donald Trump's talking about sending missiles and attacking Syria, even though Russia said that we're not going to be happy with that. And all the news is reporting is Facebook and Mark Zuckerberg and Donald Trump's attorney gets raided. Now, yeah, I mean, these are no newsworthy events, but they don't need to consume the news and hide you from other things that are going on. It may not be as important to India, but I do know that if we were to get involved into a world war, India is technically one of our allies. So, I mean,
well, yeah. So a lot of censorship happening, the media trying to display only the things that they want to display, a lot of information which are not coming down to public. And so this is all the result of the centralization. This is all so what if you could decentralize? What if you could give everyone power to publish, and nobody can ever censor anybody, And you mentioned about the war. Now, who funds the war? It's the government. And how do they do that? By the centralized money. If they won't have any
Central,
money, if they won't have money, they won't have a fiat money, they won't be able to create these wars. Do you agree?
yeah, that's actually something that people don't talk about a lot. If everybody stopped using government money and started using cryptocurrencies, then they wouldn't be able to fund any of this crap. There would be no money. They wouldn't be able to pay for war. They wouldn't be able to pay for nothing. It would just fail to. They would have to join the cryptocurrency world. So that's something that's definitely important. People don't think about that factor. But the other thing is people are too scared to do stuff like that. But I mean, we need to wake people up. People have been conditioned to think that you need to trust your government. It's very important to trust your government.
There was
I mean, here it's not so much like this right now in America, but when I was growing up in schools, before school started, we were supposed to stand up and do the Pledge of Allegiance to the United States. Every day in school, I pledge allegiance to the United States of America, conditioning you, trying to condition me to think that I need to listen to what you say, that you're like my father who's looking out for my best interest. You're not looking out for my best interest. You're looking out for your best interest. It's crazy to think about that.
In fact, you are taking a cut of every small money that I earn. So indirectly, I'm actually a medium, or maybe I'm actually a source for you of money, because through me you get money, you get funding.
Right.
So I'm working for you actually.
Yeah. And you mentioned that like the censorship. Okay, so Facebook, Google, Twitter, they've all come out and they're banning like cryptocurrency ads. And YouTube is starting to demonetize certain channels, not just in the cryptocurrency space, but anybody who's speaking out against things, trying to inform people. Anything that's edgy, that's conspiracy related, or reporting on real news, or talking about guns in schools in the United States. Some of these channels are just being completely taken away, and just their accounts are being deactivated. Even their email addresses are being canceled. So, I mean, that's a centralized form of control. They're trying to quiet people. They don't want us to be heard. Well, the awesome power about decentralization, and I'm not sure how many people in India are using things like this, but you've got Steemit, which is a decentralized blog site, and you can actually make some money, some cryptocurrencies, by posting and interacting on these platforms. You have through the Steemit network, they have DTube and DLive and other applications that are decentralized. DTube is decentralized version of YouTube. It's not as user friendly. It's still in a beta mode. Minds.com is a new site that I'm going to be looking into and trying to involve myself with. They have videos as well where you can do like what we're doing, live streams, as well as recorded content. So I think it's important that people are getting more involved in these decentralized platforms. If DTube and DLive were a little bit bigger and a little bit easier to use, I wouldn't even be wanting to use the YouTube platform. But unfortunately, and even with Facebook, in order for me to try to get my message out to more people, I need to be involved with where the people are at. And right now, Facebook and YouTube are two of the leading platforms. I'm trying to encourage that to change. Even with browsers, internet browsers, I'm trying to encourage people to use more decentralized and private browsers, like the Brave browser, which utilizes the BAT token, the basic attention token. You as a YouTube content creator can be approved and actually make a portion of their BAT money going into your account because they like watching your content and they want to contribute to what you do. So it's really awesome that we're having these avenues to be able to get away from the censorship. So I use YouTube right now as a tool for the good of trying to get my voice out there, so that when YouTube decides to censor me, or demonetize what I'm doing, even though I'm not making any money right now because I'm such a small fish in the pond, I will be prepared and have another platform and outlet for my voice to be heard. And I'm shifting and directing everybody towards that. Like, hey, if you're watching me here, check me out there, because I may not be here. You may not be here.
True. And I think the
Talking about
timing for the
you might be.
face. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm saying the timing for the Facebook is also right. Kind of people realize the bad part of the centralization. So I think people now all of a sudden are shocked to see that this is the degree that people's use data was being used. So now people are more vigilant, more wise, more intelligent than they were earlier. So now
Right.
they would look for something which is kind of DTube or kind of system it, or maybe they'll ask a question, oh, is there a place where my data is not being monetized? Is there a place that I can go and nobody can misuse my data? So that question will start coming into mind. And that's when you have Steemit, that's when you have DTube. So I think the centralized platforms will die on its own.
It will, but it'll take time. And something that people, if this is a subject that interests people, which, your privacy, which should interest pretty much everybody, you should educate yourself about these kind of topics, because it's very important for you to realize. And what I want people to look up is something called big data. Big data is basically a collection of information, and it's the internet collecting information, and it collects information on everybody. So basically, they have like a digital profile for every single person that exists. Every time you go on the internet, everything you search for in your histories, all the different web content you go on to. When you go to a store and you use your debit card or you use your bank account, all this information is recorded. It builds a profile as to who you are. So that way they know how to advertise to you, so they can try to anticipate how to sell things to you, because the way that our society right now is created is they want us to be consumers. They don't want people to save money. They don't want people to have value. They want people to spend what they get as they get it. And this is just another form of control. And, I think that people definitely need to wake up to these things. It's very, very important to know that your privacy is being handled in ways that you may not realize. You don't realize the information is being collected on you as an individual. Big data. Look it up. Because, that Facebook and what they're doing is only a small portion of it. Everything you're doing with your search history on Google. Now, I think it's kind of funny, because I would love to see what Google thinks about me based off my search history, because I've got a pretty weird search history. Not saying it's anything crazy or something that shouldn't be there, but I'm looking up stuff that people are probably like, this guy is, he's a threat. And I am a threat. I'm a threat because I love humanity, and I want to see humanity change. And I want to see us become the best that we can all be and not be controlled.
Exactly, Chris. So your posts have really inspiring. So every post, I think you posted something this morning as well. So it's amazing to come across the like-minded people and to talk and to share. I think you shared something this morning, and which was very inspiring. So it's always good to be connected, somebody like you. Again, I want to thank you for coming on the show today. And let me see if there is any interesting question, and then
I would
conclude the live. Yeah. You're saying something.
I would like to do something more frequently, man. It's like, as far as content, I like the idea of connecting with other countries and people. I think it's important that we do that.
We should do that, yeah, because all of a sudden crypto is borderless, as we know, and it does not see who is what. It's just global. It just and.
When you mentioned something about some of these posts that I talk about that are kind of inspirational, on my YouTube channel and on my Facebook page, I talk about something called practice change, and you can go on my channel and look a little bit more into it. But Like one of my posts I posted was, be mindful of your thoughts and your words. They're powerful.
Yeah.
Because our thoughts and our words create and manifest what is around us. I also posted something about, you have a brain, so use it. And when you're using that brain, question everything, unlearn what you've been taught, and use your critical thinking skills.
Yeah. Yeah. I think
And
that's
I try to put these messages out because, again, I love people, man. I love you. I love you that's watching. I love everybody, man. I may not act like it all the time, but I do my best, and I try to practice this daily. And I've learned that from the Indian culture standpoint. I really have learned a lot from the teachings of Buddha, and the Eightfold Path. As a matter of fact, on the other side of my wall, I've got a tapestry which has the Om, which is a symbol. Let me show you real quick, because I just want to show you how much I love India and the culture.
Sure. Are you serious, Chris?
Yes.
Oh my God.
But I love Jesus Christ too. I'm not a Hindu.
Yeah.
But I believe in energies. I learned a lot about the chakras. I'm on a spiritual search, man.
Wow. That was surprising. How long you have kept that?
I've had that for my sister actually gave it to me as a gift, and I've about 5 years I've had it hanging up.
She got it from India, or she got it in US?
She bought it over the internet, so I don't think it was bought in India. It may have been made in India, but I still like the culture. I'm in a world religion course, and I've learned all about Hinduism and learned but more from a historical standpoint, not from the actual spiritual standpoint. So I'm open to learning other cultures and other spiritual beliefs.
Right.
I'm not religious. I'm spiritual.
I mean, it's the same thing here, Chris. It's the same thing here. I'm not a very religious guy. I think because, I don't know. I don't want to talk much about it because there are people who are. So I don't want to hurt anyone's feeling.
Yeah, I don't want to offend anybody.
Yeah. I mean, it's good to be religious. That some people would not want to be religious, rather want to be spiritual. So it's the same thing. Buddha. I'm not wearing that same t-shirt, but if I could show you, no, I don't have one. So there was one statue that I have for Buddha, which is in the other room. So I would have shown you otherwise. So yeah, it's a similar feeling. Yeah.
Is it like the Siddhartha Buddha, or is it more like the future big belly Buddha?
No. The one which is the meditative Buddha. The one who meditates. Yeah.
Buddha, awesome. I mean, because the teachings of the Buddha are very similar to the teachings of Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And I don't adhere to being a Christian. I do follow the teachings of Jesus, and Jesus is my savior. But I also learn from the teachings of people like the Buddha, and I've learned a lot about spirituality just from learning about Buddhism, about just the idea of what karma is, dharma. It's really interesting. I would love to visit India one day.
Esports says Chris, you should check out Sadhguru. Have you heard of Sadhguru?
Yeah, is that SAD, Sadhguru? Yeah. Yes, I've checked him out. I've been looking into yogis. I've been trying to learn from different yogi masters. But I also like the Dalai Lama. The Dalai Lama's got a lot of interesting things to say. So, I'm open. I believe.
Chris, do you know that before Steve Jobs' Apple became so successful, he came to India? You know the story?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's the same. Yeah.
I want to travel, and India is definitely one of the places I want to go to.
Yeah. All right, wonderful. Chris, it was wonderful having you on the live. I would love to do more of these kind of content. It's amazing to talk to each other and know what's going on there. and the regulations, and of course the crypto, and to talk about everyone, right, from Charlie Lee, Ben, Anastasia, who else? Ken Boza, Cryptos News, and who else? Ivan on Tech. Box mining is great as well. So it's amazing. It's amazing. I think there's a wonderful community we have, and of course there are a lot of tech developers, a lot of good projects coming up as well. So I'm excited. I'm all about blockchain.
Well, I thank you again, man, for having me, and I just encourage people to check out my YouTube channel. Definitely like this video. In case you people don't know, the way YouTube works is the more people that likes videos and shares and subscribes to our content helps our content to be able to be viewed by more people.
Right.
So we appreciate it.
So I'm gonna post the link of your channel, Chris, because we were actually trying to get onto your channel, but because of some technical reasons we couldn't go live on your channel. So I would love to go live on your channel. Maybe the next one we will do on your channel as well.
I'll get that.
Yes, but I'm going to put the link of Chris channels in the description below. So guys, please check out his channel. He's got some amazing content. By the time you will already know, he's all about blockchain, he's all about decentralization, and of course there's a lot that we can learn from his channel as well. Thank you so much once again, Chris, for coming in. And
thank you.
Is there a good afternoon there?
Oh, it's beautiful, man. Actually, as soon as I'm done, I want to go out for a little walk because it's like almost 80 degrees. We're starting to see spring weather come here, so it's so gorgeous, man. I want to take advantage of this beautiful day. But I definitely was looking forward to connecting with you and being able to reach out and to be able to learn more about India and share some of the stuff that's going on in the United States.
Definitely, Chris. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining here in the chat box. Thank you so much for putting across your questions, and peace out. See you, Chris.
Love you all.